Roma hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Shalom, friends, and welcome to this week's episode of Musical Meditations. This week we're continuing to celebrate Debbie Friedman, and I wanted to share 3 songs this week. Don't get too excited. This first one we just did, Oseh Shalom, is one of the first that I learned from Debbie Friedman. She was famous for, when she would do this in her concerts, for reminding her audience this isn't exactly a folk song where things get passed down, that she wrote the music, and so it was meant to be sung a particular way. And so she would demonstrate with her hands in what's now become the song-leading hand gestures. Oseh Shalom bimromav. What happened with that particular piece over the years is people do bimromav, a little glide in between, to say, that's not what I wrote. Sing it the way that I wrote it. The second song for this week's episode is Miriam's song, and this was a favorite of mine from my Nifty days, and then even during my days in HUC. Miriam's song is inspired by the Song of the Sea, which is read during Parshat Beshalach, the Song of Freedom, from which we get the texts like Micha Mocha, Oziva Zimrat Yah, and so forth. But Debbie Friedman, who was a big feminist, always wondered, but what about women's voices? And we read at the very end of the Song of the Sea that Miriam, who was called the prophet, Hanivi'ah, took a timbrel, a tambourine, and sang the same words that were sung earlier. And so that's the inspiration behind this. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing the song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang her history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched whose spirit she danced toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. With every thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. And the women dancing with their taken girls followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing the song, the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women dancing the night long. And the women dancing with their taken girls followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing the song to the one who we've exalted. Miriam and the women dancing the night long. The third song for this week is Tirtzu, with text inspired by Theodore Herzl, the father of Zionism, Naftali Herz Imber, who wrote the text of Hatikva. The words Tirtzu ein zo agada. Tirtzu, if you wish it, it is not merely a legend, and that's inspired by Herzl's idea of a future state for the Jewish people. And then the words Lihiot amchoshi be'artzenu be'eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. So the words Lihiot amchoshi, to be free, be'artzenu, in our land, be'eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, in the land of Zion and Jerusalem. Those directly come from the very end of Hatikva, which is now Israel's modern national anthem. And I'm doing this song as this week I would have been leaving to travel to spend some time in Israel with the congregation, but plans change. Im tirtzu ein zo agada lihiyot am chofshi be'artzenu be'eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Tirtzu ein zo agada lihiyot am choshi be'artzenu be'eretz